Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nut, and welcome back to Worms Armageddon. And we're back here because, as some of you may recall, last time we had a general election here in the UK, I used this incredibly sophisticated political analysis machine in front of me in order to predict the winner. Now, I should point out we predicted it wrong, but we did get the last two correct, so there was definitely some form of science behind it. And as your bloody US presidential race seems to be dragging on and on and on, and you guys just can't bloody even pick who's going to be the nominees, never mind who's actually going to be the bloody president, I've decided to turn this incredibly powerful political simulation tool, for some reason called Worms Armageddon, onto the task again. Except with a bit of a twist, because of course, unlike the UK general election, where it's all parties and thus there are many people in each party, in this case it seems to be much more about personalities, so I think it would be much more fair if every single team simply had just one worm. Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, John Kasich and Ted Cruz, the remaining 5 people in the race at the time of recording. I hope one of them's not about to drop out. That would be very annoying if they did. The 5 when I was recording anyway. And as there is only one of them, let's put their health up a little bit to 250, so they have a bit more of a chance to smash each other in the face, because bloody hell does the nomination process in the US seem to go on for a while, so it seems somehow appropriate and realistic that they have multiple chances to punch each other right in the face. Except, of course, as some of you may have seen down in the barracks there is going to be one other member of this race, which is the US public also get to take part. That's me. You're not actually allowed to start a match without a human involved. You can't just set the computer on each other. So, I will be the US public. I will be skipping all of my turns and will also be using this in this incredibly powerful, realistic political simulation to figure out how each of the candidates would treat members of the US public, as well as who's going to be the nominee and who's going to be the president. Let's get going, shall we? Okay, I feel like I've got a map I like here. This all looks good. So, Ted Cruz, oh my goodness, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump have spawned very close to each other, but they're not interested in each other right now. They're more interested in, interestingly, blowing up gun owners. But attacking gun owners never ends well, Ted Cruz. You always get a bit of blowback off that, and indeed he has. Ted Cruz takes an early knock, but does a lot of damage to the gun owners as well. So yes, this is my team, the US public, who are just dotted around, including the veterans, the poor veterans who are currently, well, they're nice and safely tucked out of the way, which is lucky for them. I've kind of picked this map. I quite like this map. This map works quite well. So we've got Ted Cruz and Donald Trump right next to each other. We'll see if they decide to turn on each other or focus on Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders is right in the middle, and indeed John Kasich is right there as well. That could go badly for Bernie Sanders if he ends up taking a fall into the pit. Then he's very, very close to the water. But we should be safe from anything happening in terms of like candidates being knocked out into the water too early, which is good. Anyway, we will indeed simply skip the turn of the veterans and move straight on to, presumably, yes, Bernie Sanders is up next. He's got a good line at Hillary Clinton on his left, or John Kasich. No, he was too busy deciding he wanted to shotgun the African Americans. Bernie Sanders, how could you? Is it going to be both barrels for the African Americans? No! One barrel was indeed reserved for John Kasich. So, he took one shot at the voters and one shot at a Republican candidate. Now, Donald Trump. Now we need to figure out, you see, the thing is, he could attack Ted Cruz, but he'll need to blow up gun owners to do it. That is going to be a big hit for Ted Cruz, and that could potentially, no, it hasn't even come close to killing gun owners. They are just about okay. Hillary Clinton gets her first go, I believe. And what is she planning to do at this point? Donald Trump's right there, or there's Bernie Sanders. Depends who she decides she's more interested in. She could theoretically... It's Bernie Sanders. She takes a shot at Bernie Sanders, but the African Americans did take a bit of a knock while doing it. Bernie Sanders now stuck in a bit of a hole, but that's not a bad defensive position for him, as actually. You'll notice, by the way, I've put a lot of mines and barrels into this map, and those health kits are worth 100 each to keep this thing going on. So those health kits are very valuable, and that is pretty good grenade from John Kasich going after Bernie Sanders, but honestly, it was a light tap. John Kasich trying to get involved in this debate, but no one really cares. Ted Cruz in a difficult situation right now. Very difficult situation. Is he just going to... I think he's just going to take out the gun owners. Well, I don't think anyone saw the Republicans turning on the gun owners, but if it was what they needed to do in order to secure a nice, safe little beachhead on this side of the map, perhaps they would do so. The poor are nice and safely out of the way, actually. That's good. I think you're in a very safe position over there. Bernie Sanders is next up. And he's decided to go for... He's blown himself up. Bernie Sanders just blew himself up. These are all level 4 computers. I don't like level 5 computers in Worms Armageddon. They just kind of seem to be able to like calculate perfect shots. It's not. I don't think it's that interesting. Level 4 is a good compromise. And then, oh no! Donald Trump just laid a bomb, dropped a mine, and also set fire to the middle class and to young people. Blimey, Donald Trump, that's excessive. Hillary Clinton has... Oh, Hillary Clinton just picked up that health package and now has, I think, 350 health, if I recall correctly. And she has just literally bombed and sunk the African-American community. And they voted for you, Hillary Clinton. They voted for you in huge numbers. John Kasich is back, but honestly, does anyone actually care? John Kasich is a good shot against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is in trouble. Bernie Sanders, despite a good defensive position, he's kind of been ganged up on from all sides. Ted Cruz. Now, what is he going to try and do? He's going to fire a gun into a cliff for no well-explained reason. Ted Cruz, we were kind of hoping for better. Ideally, you need to do something to the Donald. He's still at full health. Middle class, skipping their turn, obviously. And moving straight back round to Bernie Sanders, who's finding himself in a difficult position right now. Low on health. And he's going for Hillary. He's going for Hillary. And that puts her in a... Hillary Clinton has been sunk! She had a massive lead, but she's gone! My goodness, Bernie Sanders, despite a very, very big disadvantage, has actually come from behind and sunk Hillary Clinton in a shocking twist. Well, we're calling it now. Bernie Sanders will be the Democratic nominee because Hillary Clinton, despite her massive lead, something's going to go wrong. Donald Trump fires on protesters. Oh, we should have seen that one bloody coming, shouldn't we? Protesters take a heavy knock there. They'll be well under 100 health. Oh, by 1 under 100 health. John Kasich also takes a light tap, but honestly, Donald Trump was more interested in taking out the protesters. We think he has spoken at length about how much he doesn't like protesters. John Kasich joining in. Donald Trump is setting the tone of the Republican debate, and John Kasich is simply following suit. Now, Ted Cruz, what on earth are you doing, my good man? Are you actually just... skipping turns? The computer can do that. Normally, when it doesn't think it's got a good shot, Ted Cruz doesn't dare fire at Donald Trump anymore. Well, the protesters right here, but they're skipping their turn. It's a peaceful protest. These are pacifist protesters. Bernie Sanders, he came from behind out of nowhere to kill flipping Hillary Clinton, and now he's going for the Donald. It's a really light tap. It's a really light tap. A good hit against the Donald could theoretically launch him over the edge of that cliff and into the sea. But the Donald is definitely in one of the better positions right now. Oh! The young people take another hit, though the middle class get hit harder. John Kasich stayed actually mostly out of this fight so far. In theory, he's gone for Trump! Kasich has actually attacked Trump and knocked him down into the pit, which is going to mean that Donald is going to have a much harder time hitting Bernie Sanders. Now, is that going to change Ted Cruz's behaviour? Or is Ted Cruz... Oh, Ted Cruz is teleporting. Where's he gone? Oh, he's gone way up there. He's got a good shot at John Kasich from up there, but he could be knocked down into that mine first. The young people, it's their turn. Sadly, they are going to be skipping their turn, in fact. Maybe representative of the fact... Oh, wait, what is Bernie Sanders doing? He's dropping a grenade in on Trump, but it did not hit. These are level 4 computers, by the way. I do like level 4 computers, just because they're not quite so perfect at taming. Donald Trump's up next. He could be going for... It's the middle class again. He wants the middle class and the young people dealt with. He has put a lot of fire on them. John Kasich is John Kasich now the strongest... Yeah, John Kasich, I think, is now the strongest person on this field. I mean, no one's expecting much of him. But he could yet come from behind. All 3 members of the Republican Party are still present and correct. But Ted Cruz, surely he came up to this position specifically to... No, he came up to this position specifically to bomb protesters. Dear oh dear. No one in the Republican Party liking the protesters. The disabled, hiding away, probably sensible guys. I would just stay down there and stay out of trouble. Bernie Sanders. Now, with Donald Trump so out of the way, is he going to change fire to... Oh, that's a dangerous shot. That is... Yeah, not a great shot. Gets a really light tap against Donald Trump, though honestly, I don't think we can really say, having only taken 13 damage, that he was really feeling the burn. I don't think he was. Donald Trump still at 176 health. Pretty damn good. He's just gonna, continue bombing the middle class and the young people. Middle class definitely shrinking in America now, down to 15 health. Oh, an airstrike! Against who? Oh! Did John Kasich just call it an airstrike against veterans, but mess it up? Blimey, if anyone actually cared what he was doing, that would probably make front page news. Ted Cruz again. Now, is he going to finish off the protesters or turn his fire to John Kasich? Oh, it is. It's John Kasich. He's put a shotgun blast into him, but honestly not done much damage. It's a really light tap. At this point, he probably would have been better off going for an explosive just to detonate those barrels while John Kasich was closer. But John Kasich and Bernie Sanders now very close together. These two people could come out of nowhere. Veterans skipping their turn, obviously. And instead, we move over to Bernie Sanders. Now, what's he planning to do? Is he going to turn his fire on? No, he's just obsessed with Donald Trump at this point. And no, he's not. He just destroyed the young people. That's your second attack on young people, isn't it? Bloody hell, Bernie Sanders, what are you doing? Donald Trump could very easily finish off, both the middle class and the young people, but he fluffed it. They've just survived this one turn at least. For the moment, the candidates not really interested in each other, more interested in blowing up the general public. In particular, the Republicans do not seem to be liking the protesters. What is John Kasich going to do now? He's moving dangerously close to those explosive barrels. He probably doesn't want to do that. And he's going for... Oh, he's going for Ted Cruz. And that mine has... I'm surprised that mine didn't go off, actually. John Kasich is now standing in an incredibly dangerous position, especially as it is Ted Cruz's turn. But Ted Cruz possibly has just realised the poor are in here. Yes, Ted Cruz just realised the poor were hiding in here, and he's not having any of that. The poor will be bombed to prosperity, and the poor, sadly, do not have the weapons to respond. Moving on, we go back to Bernie Sanders, who's probably going to continue his war against Donald Trump, but he just can't land a good hit. And that's... Oh, no, he's going against the protesters. Bernie Sanders. I'm going to assume you were going for Ted Cruz, but missed. But he's killed them. He's killed the protesters. The Republican Party, Donald Trump in particular, asked Bernie Sanders to call off the protesters. Maybe that was his way of doing it. So, Donald Trump probably at this point going to finish off the middle class and the young people. Yep, they both go in the sea. Donald Trump is now out of members of the general public to take out, unless he decides to blowtorch his way through that little cliff there in order to get the disabled. John Kasich, very lucky not to get killed while he was standing on top of those barrels. Ted Cruz gets knocked into a big hole. Ted Cruz accidentally has ended up in a very good defensive position, but a little bit close to the water, to be honest. But it's going to be difficult for him and Donald Trump to eventually decide this fight. Though, looking at it, I'm more concerned about John Kasich, who might well come from behind out of nowhere to actually become the Republican nominee. Ted Cruz fluffs shooting the poor there. It's the disabled turn. Oh, guys, I have a horrible feeling the Donald is about to be paying attention to you. Bernie Sanders up next. Really does not have a good shot at anyone. He's just going to keep throwing grenades up at... Nah, bad shot. Bad shot by Bernie Sanders. But he's slowly blowing his way through to Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself. Now, what's he going to do now the middle class and the young are dead? He's calling in airstrikes against... the veterans! Oh, the veterans have been repeatedly airstriked, but have managed to survive every airstrike so far. John Kasich, him again. Now, what's he going to do now that Ted Cruz is out of the way? That's, oh, that looked like it might be a bad shot. Almost a good shot against Bernie Sanders there, but not quite. Moving over to Ted Cruz, presumably he's just going to continue his war on the poor, or is he actually going to... No, he's going to try and blow his way out. I think he's kind of lost interest in the poor and would rather be bombing John Kasich at this point. Moving over to veterans, obviously they'll be skipping their turn. They've done very well to survive as long as they have the amount of firepower that's been thrown at them. Bernie Sanders probably going to continue his war against Donald Trump that just is not working for him. But no, not working at all. Oh, Donald Trump tries to fire upwards, but that goes horribly wrong. And, well, that was almost inevitable. Sooner or later, one of his shots was going to backfire. John Kasich obsessed with Bernie Sanders at the moment, but again, not landing the shots. For the moment, these candidates are safe from each other, which is unfortunate because sudden death is a thing in this game, and when it happens, there's going to be nukes. Oh no, it's he's attacked John Kasich. Oh my goodness, Ted Cruz just did an airstrike against John Kasich, not Bernie Sanders. The Republican Party is weakening itself, and Bernie Sanders has not been touched for quite a while. John Kasich is now weaker than Bernie Sanders, though Donald Trump remains the frontrunner. Unsurprisingly. The poor, time to skip their turn. I'm amazed they're still alive, given they're so close to bloody Ted Cruz. Now, at this point, Bernie Sanders, at some point, might be able to bloody... Oh, that's a hell of a throw. Where's he going with that? And... Oh, he actually gets hit against Donald Trump for once. Blimey. Oh, wow. Bernie Sanders just became the strongest person on the field. Light taps against Donald Trump are slowly wearing him down. But the candidates are struggling against each other at the moment. That looks like a bit of a... Where on earth is that throw going? That's probably meant for John Kasich, but it did not connect. If these candidates, can't figure it out, there is going to be sudden death. A nuke will drop, health will be lost, and the water will start rising. At that point, the candidates could be in trouble. That is a... Ooh. I think that's a very light tap against Bernie Sanders. If he even made a tiny bit of contact. And that puts... No, Bernie Sanders remains in control. Ted Cruz, is he going to continue trying to blow his way out of this place? Yes, he is. Ted Cruz now has a good opening to potentially get out of this little cave he was blown into by John Kasich. The disabled, just hiding down there. Probably a good idea, guys. I would just stay hidden away down there. Bernie Sanders slowly having an impact on Donald Trump. And he's going to continue with his grenade game, but that doesn't look like a good throw to me. That looks like a pretty poor throw. Yep, weak throw by Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump has decided to teleport to... Whoa! Way over there. Donald Trump has backed off. He's come out of this little area he was stuck in, but he's gone into another area where he might be stuck in. John Kasich is very, very low down, and John Kasich has decided to attack Ted Cruz. John Kasich has his eye on becoming the Republican nominee if he can, and Ted Cruz being out of the way would be a good first step, because then he'd be the only establishment candidate. The poor, now very, very weak indeed, but the poor doing better than bloody Ted Cruz. Veterans obviously will be skipping their turn, and right back to Bernie Sanders. Now that that Donald Trump has moved way up here, he's still going to keep on with it, isn't he? Oh no, wait, where's he going with that grenade? That is... Unless he was trying to hit the disabled, that'd be a very odd throw by Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders acting a little bit unpredictably here. I'm not sure what his game plan is. Now, Donald Trump, you teleported up here. What are you planning to do now you're here? He's going to continue that wonderful little random machine gun hole that Ted Cruz started ages ago. Donald Trump, occasionally a little eccentric, it must be said. Now, John Kasich, he could finish off Ted Cruz right here and become the establishment candidate for the Republican race. But still, even now, with Hillary Clinton so long gone, Bernie Sanders now the Democratic nominee, even so, all three members of the Republican Party are still present and correct. But Ted Cruz is looking weak. What is John Kasich going to do? Is he just going to keep... I think he's possibly just going to keep jumping into a wall and being confused as to why it's not working. Yes, I genuinely think that's what he's doing. I've never actually seen the computer manage to do that in Worms before. Basically bang his head on the wall and repeatedly saying, I don't know what's happening here. No, he's decided to skip his turn. He can't figure it out. And that might give Ted Cruz the chance to get back into this. John Kasich might have just completely fluffed it. No, Ted Cruz has also fluffed it. But he might have just given a very slight tap to... Yeah, really tiny tap to John Kasich. The poor obviously were skipping their turn. And Bernie Sanders is up. Now, what are you planning to do here, Bernie Sanders? That feels like that's a grenade meant for Donald Trump, but he's going to have trouble getting through to him. No, not doing much. Now, Donald Trump, what are you planning here? Oh, he's doing something. He's doing... oh, my goodness, that was one hell of a long-range shot against Ted Cruz. Was it enough? No, not quite. But at this point, Ted Cruz just needs the slightest tap from John Kasich. And that's it, he'll be done. He's doing... John Kasich is stuck against a wall. He's just stuck against a wall, sadly. Oh, no. No, he's not. He's got the grenade. That'll be it. That'll be the end of Ted Cruz. The poor, I think, are alive. Just. The poor have actually managed to outlive Ted Cruz. He tried to kill them earlier, but they turned out to be quite resilient. John Kasich and Donald Trump, the only two Republican nominees remaining at this point. Dear, oh dear. The disabled skipped their turn. They've done very well. They haven't even taken a scratch yet. The only people not yet attacked. Now, Bernie Sanders continuing his war against Donald Trump, but again, this is not going well for anyone involved. Level 4 computers just can't quite nail those grenade shots. And more shots coming in from Donald Trump. He's actually got himself some really good bazooka shots going, and I get the feeling that now he wants John Kasich out of the picture. Donald Trump wants to sew up being the Republican nominee. And that is... oh, that's a good shot! That's a good shot from John Kasich! Bernie Sanders, now in a bit of trouble. He's really close to the water at this point, but he is also relatively well protected from Donald Trump. The veterans obviously will be skipping their turn. I'm worried for the poor. John Kasich is going to turn his attention to them sooner or later. Now, Bernie Sanders, what are you going to do now? Potentially teleport your way out? No, he's just going to blow himself up above a little bit of a hole so that he can actually get a better shot out of here. But he should be pretty damn safe. I mean, I can't see Donald Trump landing a shot on Bernie Sanders at this point. Instead, I think Donald Trump is going to be focusing on John Kasich. So, we've got Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump both buried in quite nicely. John Kasich is in a little more of an exposed position, but he is safe from airstrikes and so forth, so not too bad. Uh-oh. John Kasich, it's not an elegant plan, but it could work. He's just going to start blowing his way through the wall towards Bernie Sanders. And that will work eventually. It'll just take a while. At some point, Bernie Sanders may choose to teleport out, but oh no, what's he doing now? Oh, whoa, no! The veterans! Bernie Sanders, I'm going to assume that was an accident. I think you were going for John Kasich there, but sadly, you've just knocked the veterans into the sea. The US public still winning this race, but they've taken a lot of damage. Donald Trump actually skipping turns at this point. Well, if him and Bernie Sanders want to wait out the clock, it would work potentially. Yep, John Kasich is actually just going to slowly bomb his way through to Bernie Sanders. If it comes to sudden death, then Donald Trump is in the best position unless the other worms are clever enough to teleport. And I'm not sure if the AI is clever enough to teleport up to high ground. It might be, it might not. Bernie Sanders, what are you planning to do at this point? You've got to do something to get out of the area you're in, and you're going for... Oh, that's a good shot! That's a nice shot indeed. John Kasich injured there. Oh, the poor have gone, and they've taken out the health kit with them. So John Kasich's chance of going up to 183 health, which would have done him very, very well, has sadly exploded with the poor. Donald Trump's doing something, blowing himself a bit more of a hole out of the way. Now, the problem now is... who's going to actually draw blood next? Because everyone's relatively well defended. Is John Kasich's plan to blow his way through to Bernie Sanders going to continue? Because eventually that plan will work. Yep, that's the plan. And Bernie Sanders is going to be in trouble when that happens. But John Kasich is very close to the water too. The disabled skipping their turn. Straight back round to Bernie Sanders. He's caught in the airstrike. Against who? Against the disabled? Bernie Sanders, you didn't need to call an airstrike against the disabled. I think they've got a bad enough lot in life already, and I really think that airstrike could have been better used. But then again, John Kasich is very well defended, and oh, Donald Trump very nearly blew himself up there. Donald Trump basically, rather than being taken out, Donald Trump accidentally blowing up himself and completely imploding is a very real possibility by the looks of it. And yes, that does seem like the only way Donald Trump could be stopped at this point. Another shot there, but oh no, now John Kasich's in a bit more of a difficult position for him to actually get those shots around at Bernie Sanders. Disabled, suddenly very, very exposed. Donald Trump might be wanting to kill the disabled. Bernie Sanders too, actually. I don't know why. I feel like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are both slowly blowing their way towards the disabled. But as soon as the disabled are taken out, that will leave nobody left in this match apart from the politicians. But Donald Trump is... yeah, feels like he is. Oh, is he going to get any fire on that? No. Oh, a little bit. A little bit. The disabled are now much closer to the water. And they've taken their first bit of damage too. John Kasich, still probably with the same plan as before. Slowly blow his way through to, yep, with the wind on his side. He's slowly blowing his way through to Sanders. But if he opens up a hole, Sanders could just kill him straight in return. Just depends on who gets the good first shot in. Disabled people, skipping their turn, of course. Actually, you know what? If we get to a disabled turn again, I'm actually going to surrender the US public at this point. I think there's no one left but the disabled. And at this point, I think they're just distracting Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. So the disabled will surrender. I think the disabled will surrender in order to make sure the candidates actually turn on each other. John Kasich, I believe it's his turn. Yes, indeed. And that means it is time to surrender. There we go. The US public drop out of this race. It's now up to the candidates. So now Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders should... no, I think Bernie Sanders, even though they're waving a white flag, Sanders. Bloody hell, they've given up. Is Donald Trump going to keep trying to bomb them too? Very harsh. And Donald Trump's teleporting again. Oh. He's in a much better position to hit Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders now has a much easier shot at him. But John Kasich's plan to slowly expose Bernie Sanders is getting close to fruition as well. If Bernie Sanders can take out Donald Trump before John Kasich blows through that wall, this match could be wide open yet. Bernie Sanders continues trying to blow up the disabled, and he has at least succeeded. Now, unfortunately, I suspect Bernie Sanders' obsession with blowing up the disabled may just cost him, because Donald Trump now has a really good shot against Bernie Sanders, but there's a lot of debris around too, and that wind is not favourable. This is going to be tricky. No! Bernie Sanders has been sunk by Donald Trump. And that means the only thing left now is two Republican candidates. Whichever one of them wins now is President of the United States. John Kasich doesn't even take the shot. John Kasich's given up. Well, you know, can't blame him given some of the results he's had. And Donald Trump is being a lot more proactive. Possibly, if the wind were right, John Kasich might go for it. But at the moment, he's in a very, very dangerous position. How is he going to do it? No, he's blown a bit of debris out of the way. The scenery's clear at least, and the mine has gone in the water. The problem is, it's just a question of who's going to land as well. Not even who's going to land the first shot. It's going to take a few shots to take out Donald Trump. John Kasich's only one shot away. Just one shot away, and that is a good shot in the water. Congratulations to President Trump. President Trump numero uno. He has just won. Meanwhile, according to the game, Hillary Clinton was not very good at all. Bernie Sanders was worm of the match. Donald Trump did the most kills with one shot. Bernie Sanders, however, did the most damage with one shot. And Bernie Sanders won the Entertainment Award. However, John Kasich was the most boring worm, and the worm that turned to the dark side was Donald Trump. Not desperately surprising, really. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Worms Armageddon political simulation machine has called it. Despite her massive lead, which Hillary Clinton does indeed currently have, somehow Bernie Sanders will take the Democratic nomination. He will take on Donald Trump in the presidential race, but Donald Trump will win. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking potentially at the darkest timeline there, but it is the one that Worms Armageddon political simulator has decided to call. I should however point out, the last time I used this thing as a political simulator, I did call the general election in Britain for Labour, and they lost quite badly to the Conservatives. So actually, typically, my machine gets everything wrong, which means actually the winner will be the Democrats, not the Republicans, and the candidate will be Hillary Clinton, not Bernie Sanders. So basically what I'm saying at the end of this exercise is one of the 5 people who could theoretically be president will be president. That's what I've decided from this incredibly worthwhile process that we've just been through. There you are, ladies and gentlemen, Worms Armageddon Political Simulator. I enjoy doing these. They're always good fun to put together. So, we shall see if I turn out to be right. I really hope not. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Worms Armageddon, the US election special. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Haha, I'm a genius at time. Oh, okay, this escalated quickly. I'd like to fly your drone. So good about a butterfly in a bucket. What does that tell you about the human condition? Are we the butterfly and is capitalism the bucket? What happens if you go right to the back in time? The very beginning of time. Oh, you literally just burn the universe.